Okay, morning, everyone. This is Ashley Vaquero with the Office of Charter Schools. We are live streaming currently on the DPI YouTube channel, and this is our June regular meeting. I'm going to take a quick roll call so we can establish a quorum. Stephen Gay.
Here.
Bruce Friend.
Here.
Rita Hare.
Here.
Dave Machado. Dave, you there? I see your name. Hilda Parlay. Todd Godby.
Here.
Eric Sanchez.
Present.
Bart Danielson. Shelley Shope.
Here.
John Eldridge.
Here.
Alex Quigley. Alex Granados.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum, so we are ready to go when you are, Bruce Friend.
All right, thank you, Ashley, and good morning, everybody. Again, this is the June 11th meeting of the Charter School Review Board. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America
States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ethics statement. Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the review board. Does any member of the review board know of any conflict of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with respect to matters coming before us this meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring that matter to the attention of the chair. It will be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and voting on the matter. This is Mr. Friend. I will be recusing myself from the discussion around Pine Springs Preparatory Academy's request for a remote application or remote learning amendment, excuse me.
Mr. Chair, this is Dave Machado. I will also be recusing from the Pine Springs discussion.
Are there any others? Okay, thank you so much. As a reminder, the mission statement, the Charter School Review Board works to ensure the existence of high-quality charter schools in North Carolina. We do have a pretty full agenda today. Hope you've had a chance to review all the information and the related documentation that was sent out by OCS prior to today's meeting. Can I get a motion to approve today's meeting, the June 11th meeting?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the agenda for today's meeting.
Thank you. May I get a second?
Second, Steve Gay.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Very good. We also have two sets of meeting minutes to approve for the month of May. The first was our regular meeting in May on May 6th. Again, those minutes have been posted on eBoard. Hopefully you've had a chance to review those. Can I get a motion to approve the May 6th meeting minutes?
Motion to approve, Stephen Gay.
May I get a second?
Second, Shelley Shope.
Thank you, Shelley. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I made a couple of small edits to those minutes, and it was late last night, but they were just a couple of small technicalities. I don't think that anyone would need to review a second time. I just wanted to make that known.
Yep, and we did get those. Thank you, Rita.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rita. All in favor of approving the May 6th meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, the last meeting minutes was the special called meeting that we had on May 31st. This was to approve the charter school agreement that then went to the State Board of Education. May I get a motion to approve the May 31st special meeting minutes?
Mr. Friend, this is John Eldridge. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you, John. Get a second. I'll second it. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving the May 31st meeting minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passes as well. Okay, thanks for getting the beginning part of our agenda out of the way, and then we're going to move on to the teacher working conditions survey. And we welcome back our friend, Dr. Jenny Korn. Always good to have Dr. Korn give presentations to us. So Dr. Korn, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am bringing to you today an overview for charter schools only. So what we did, and we're going to go through around the teacher working conditions survey. So we're going to kind of talk through each of these, each of the charts and graphs, and shouldn't take too long, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the presentation. So first up, just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody that participated on the Teacher Working Conditions Advisory Board. We had several charter school representatives. This was not an easy lift because we were overhauling the Teacher Working Conditions Survey, both the content, so we made a ton of changes related to how many questions were asked, the type of questions that were asked. We cut the number in half from 199 down to 99 questions. We also changed the process we used to collect the data. Historically, it had been these pieces of paper were sent to individual schools, and they had numbers on them, and the teachers got those numbers. This time we just emailed it to everybody. So just a huge thank you to the charter school community. There was a really big increase in participation for charter schools this time. And so this year, so again, a lot of that had to do with the input that we got from the Office of Charter Schools and the charter reps on the advisory board. So thank you to everybody. If you go to the next, I think kind of jump through. So this, we're just going to do a quick high level overview. I wanted to talk a little bit about the timeline for sharing results. So as you all know, every other year, the teacher working conditions survey data is collected in March. And then typically the data, the first wave of data comes out in May, and then again in like November. Well, we really tried to expedite the release of the data. We really wanted to get this information into the hands of school level leaders and state level leaders. And so we turned it around, the phase one release that really opened up that website. You could see data all the way down to the school level within like 3 weeks of the survey closing. And then what we have committed to do as the Office of Research and Evaluation, we've really committed to try to continue to push data summaries out as quickly as we can over the summer. Because we have new items and new data, we're really trying to get input and feedback from the field. So a couple of pieces with that. Yesterday, we pushed an email to the Office of Charter Schools that provides another sort of round of data that will be released probably over the next week or so to the charter schools around the state. So not only will they have their like individual item level analysis that they have at the school level, but now we're offering new ways to cut the data that folks have not really had before. And you can kind of pick and choose, and we'll talk a little bit about what ways those data can be cut, but we'll work really closely with the Office of Charter Schools to make sure that gets out to our charter school community. But today just offered a really good opportunity because we were presenting to this board to really lift up this idea of really trying to maximize use of this data set. I've also got members of my team that are working on dashboards because historically the data has really kind of been flat. Like you get these PDFs or Excel files, but don't really have a way to kind of interact with the data. So that's what our team will be working on continuing over the summer and we'll be providing opportunities for you all to give us input in those dashboards, how that looks, what other data, how you want to be able to cut it and use it. With an intent of October doing an updated sort of report and then a full release of the updated data, the updated dashboards to this board, the State Board of Education, and a big release at the AIM conference in October. There's been some conversations about whether we should be doing the teacher working conditions every single year. I think that is certainly would certainly be viable, but we need additional funding. We can't do twice the amount of work for the same budget. So if we transition from every other year to every year, that would really need to be a long session ask, which again is why we're trying to make sure that the data is useful to the people out in the field on the ground. If you go to the next slide is just a kind of a recapturing what I said. So this link is a link directly to the teacher working conditions website. All the data about every individual school in the state is posted there. It provides overall response rates, response descriptive, so the frequencies and percent agreement by item and by domain, and it's released at the school, district, and state level. And we've just, one of the new kind of data pieces that you'll have access to through the Office of Charter Schools is regional data. If you go to the next slide. And then these are some examples of the type of ways we are trying to cut the data in new ways. So results broken out by educator and school characteristics. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about some of the demographic items that we got from teachers. So things like years of experience, intent, like next academic year, as well as content area. And then school characteristics are things like, is it a rural or an urban school? Is it in a particular region? Is it an elementary, middle, or high? So cutting the data those ways. Looking at the correlations between what teachers are saying is going on in their school and connections and the relationship with student learning outcomes. So one of the things historically that we've seen in teacher working conditions is the fewer disciplinary problems reported by teachers tends to be highly correlated with a robust and kind of positive learning environment as measured by some of our, kind of standardized assessments. So we want to explore a little bit more of that, like what items seem to be most tightly connected, what items on the teacher working conditions seem to be most highly correlated, tightly connected to student learning outcomes. We want to look at response patterns within and across domains. So like if the teachers report very high kind of consistency with having a very strong school leader, does that change or does that have impact on other parts of the survey, like school discipline or facilities? Looking at comparison of responses over time, we made a lot of changes, but 24 of the 100 items were the same across years. So a quarter of the survey has exactly the same item. So we can look at those items over time. We also, for the very first time, asked one open-ended item, a qualitative, so it just said, is there anything else you would like to tell us about the teacher working condition, the working conditions at your school? And so we are kind of heavy into data analysis to try to pull out some of the themes there. Also looking at peer district or peer school comparisons, and then rerunning the validity and reliability. If you go to the next slide, we'll get into some of the findings. So this is a quick summary of the charter only, the responses we got from all the charter schools across the state. We had 72% of the charter schools had above a 50% completion rate. And that was the minimum completion rate required to get the data back, get the school level data back. Because part of the work that we're doing is to make sure that we're maintaining confidentiality and anonymity and have confidence that the data is representative of the whole school. So we set a 50% minimum threshold. The responses you're going to see, the bar charts you're going to see over the next couple of slides are pulled from all charter schools across the state. So y'all had about a 68% response rate. So it's almost 7,000 teachers from all the charter schools around the state out of about 10,000. And the sample is made up of about 88%. So about little over 6,000 are classroom teachers. And the rest we identify as licensed student services personnel. So these are your school counselors, school psychologists, social workers, media coordinators, that kind of stuff. If you go to the next slide. This is new and very exciting and very important. And I feel like a great deal of responsibility to make good on that data. So these are, we asked optional demographic items for the very first time. And so of that kind of almost 7,000 kind of responses from our charter schools around the state, 93% of them told us what their race and ethnicity was. About 92 indicated their licensure status, so we can cut the data in these new ways. And then about 94% indicated their content area, which is very exciting. We've never had that kind of data before with the teacher working, or ever as a state. We've never had that kind of data before. If you go to the next slide. This is a summary of what the charter teachers told us was their intentions for next year. So you'll see here almost, I mean, really like a very, very high percentage of that's like 5,700 said that they're going to continue teaching in their same school the very next year. And then you see we have about 700 said that they're going to continue in education but leave their school. So that could be they're going to another charter school. They want to be their intention is to be in administration. And then we have about 400 folks that said they're leaving education entirely or retiring. If you go to the next slide. And this is the years of experience breakdown. So these are, and what we're able to do over the next several slides is break down some of the responses to the items by years of experience, by intention for next year. So here you've got about 1,000 of the 1,000 teachers and school support personnel that are early in their career. So first 1 to 3 years, we have a 4 to 10 is we're classifying as mid-career, but then the largest kind of proportion of the respondents for the charter school community is these experienced teachers. And what's interesting, and I'll continue to mention this, we did a very similar presentation that we're doing here, but we did it for the State Board of Education and included everybody in the state. And so you can look at that presentation and see how the charter schools compare to all educators in the state, charter and traditional. So if you go to the next slide. So this is some pretty exciting data, I would say, and I encourage you all to, as you're thinking about what is the message, is that, and this is kind of what I lifted up, and we saw some very similar patterns in the entire population for the traditional and charter schools, where like 93% of your teachers are saying, overall, my school is a good place to work or learn. They are agreeing or strongly agreeing with that statement. That is powerful about the state of the public schools in North Carolina. I just don't know how many other industries could get that kind of agreement about the fact that their organization is a good place to work or learn. I mean, here you'll also see similarly, your teachers are proud to work at their school. They feel like they're an important part of the school. This is data to be celebrated. And I really encourage you all to think about what does this look like at individual schools? Because if it's this powerful across the whole state, you're probably going to see some variation, but not a ton at schools across the state. So this again is a slide to be celebrated. I would say that where you see towards on the kind of the right-hand side of the charts, that's maybe some places, because I mean, 80% is great. 6% is great, but it shows you a little bit of room to grow. So those is really about, I feel comfortable raising issues or concerns with my school leader, and that I wouldn't want to work in any other school. But what you'll see is that really probably has to do with teachers that are maybe moving to another school in the area. So if you go to the next slide, I think is the next one. Yeah. So with this one, I'm going to cut the data so you guys can see, and this is the type of analysis that we're hoping you all will find really useful, and that as we push it out kind of broadly to the field with the Office of Charter Schools. Okay, so this one, and I'll kind of walk through it just really quickly so you understand what you're looking at. So the blue bars are teachers that are saying, next year I'm going to come back to this school. The purple bars are they're going to continue in education, but not necessarily at their school. So they could be moving to another charter, another kind of school in their district, or they could be elevating to administration. And then the green guys are leaving education entirely or retiring. And we do have this broken out. When you get the local level data, you'll see this broken out a little bit more, but we decided to kind of bin it so that to make it a little bit easier to look at in a big chart like this. So again, you'll see where, I think this chart's interesting because you see where some of the differences emerge, right? So here, what you're really looking at is the people that are staying in their school are like above 90%, or except for that, I feel comfortable raising issues. But you see a lot of close to 90%. They are happy, and this is different ways of looking at that. When you look at maybe why people are leaving their school, this maybe gives you some insight. Is their school maybe not a really good fit, but they want to continue in education, or are they really ready to kind of retire and leave the profession entirely? It kind of gives you some ideas about the why of some of these, or potentially, and thinking about how a school leader might be able to use this data to sort of drive some of the decisions that they're making at the local level. If you go to the next slide. This next one is taking those same, like continue teaching at my school, continue in education, or leave education, broken out for the school leadership items. And here again, you can kind of see why. The people that are staying has a lot to do with that they're a good fit with their school leader. And then whereas you can kind of see that the guys in purple and the guys in green, maybe the school leader, they don't feel like creates a culture of trust in the building, or that ensures that teachers receive coaching, or that the principal maybe doesn't know what's going on in their classroom. So that gives some insight into potentially why people might be leaving a particular school. Again, really just for us at the state level, trying to see where we see differences in those leavers stayers. If you go to the next slide. This is kind of interesting because there's not a lot of difference. So what we did is we broke this one out by early career, so years of experience for respondents. And here, these items are aligned to the North Carolina teaching standards. So these are the standards about teachers leading in their classroom. So what you see here, which is pretty interesting, I think, is there's hardly any difference based on somebody's years of experience and their beliefs that they are leading in their classroom, that they are using data, that they are empowering students. But if you go to the next slide, you'll see some slight differences begin to emerge when you look at, and these are the teacher standards around leading in the school. So here is where you begin to see some differences based on years of experience, that the early career teachers are not getting opportunities like maybe the experienced teachers about participating in the hiring process. Many of the teachers are kind of across the board don't really feel like they have a voice in determining the school budget. And then there's more similarity, there's more similarities down on the left-hand side. If you go to the next slide. So here, this was another new sort of section that we put on the teacher working conditions. So what we asked teachers to do here is to indicate their top 3 instructional support needs. So what supports did they need to have quality instruction, to be doing good work teaching in their classrooms? And what you see here, again, we broke this out by years of experience, trying to see if there was any difference. And what this shows me is that early and mid-career teachers, well, everybody wants time to observe other teachers teaching. We know so many times, like, teachers feel isolated, they're kind of in their classrooms. And when we ask them we gave them a ton of options. Do you want to go to a conference? Do you need someone to co-teach with you? Do you need a mentor? What they said is, I need time to observe other teachers teaching. And that's a scheduling issue. It's not really necessarily a big cost. You're not sending teachers out of your building. You're not having to send them to conferences here. This is about just observing other teachers teach. Then I thought it was kind of interesting that the early career teachers are less interested in going to teacher conferences compared to mid-career and experienced teachers. A lot of folks do want opportunities to collaborate with teachers outside of their school. So finding ways for charter teachers to connect across the community, I think would be, based on this data, is what they're really interested in doing. They also want some common planning time. There's a pretty consistent, when you look across, there's some consistencies with the items in the middle around co-teaching or analyzing student work. And then what you see some differences in is that time to meet with a mentor, and that there's not a lot of experienced teachers are not looking for that kind of support. So it just gives us a little bit of insight again with our school leaders as they're thinking about how to prioritize supports for teachers. Maybe this gives them some ideas about what teachers in their school need most. I think if you go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, we did have one open-ended item, and this is what we asked, and we got 32,000 responses, which is enormous from a qualitative standpoint. So our team, we've got like an army of graduate students basically kind of culling through this data right now. But one of the things that struck me as I was kind of just glancing through some of these open-ended comments was how many of them talked about what a wonderful place their school was, that their principal was such a good leader and was so supportive. Like, I just feel like there's this constant sort of narrative about public schools are failing and public, and really from the teacher's perspective, that is not true. They are wonderful, nurturing, caring places where students are learning new things every day, where they're creating a sense of community. And I really feel like that is a message that we all need to be kind of talking about and elevating. Yes, there are concerns. Yes, there are challenges. And that's something I think that these open-ended items absolutely can help us identify and define. But I also think it's really important as an education community in North Carolina that we take this very unique opportunity to, in our teachers' own words, talk about what a special place so many of our public schools are. And so one of the things that I've asked the team to do is to think about a couple of briefs, like white papers, kind of research briefs from these open-ended items, one of them being kind of a pulling out and exploring my school is a good place to work and learn, and what does that mean in North Carolina public schools, and then also exploring kind of very explicitly from teachers' own words about some of these challenges and concerns so that we can kind of make it more concrete, for so many of our policymakers. Okay, if you go to the next slide. So just a couple of final slides about data use. So I challenge and encourage every single member of this board, of charter leaders around the state that are potentially listening to this presentation, please, please, please share the data back with your teachers and use this data to discuss changes that they want based on this feedback. Your role as a charter school leader, as a leader in the charter school community, is to create and maintain a positive work environment for charter teachers and other staff. So that is my challenge to you. We have collected all this data. You guys have done so much work to get as much, to elevate this teacher voice. Now let's listen and use it. I really encourage you all to provide targeted professional development based on some of this data. Like, one of the most powerful things about survey data, I think, is when you can show teachers, you got this feedback from them about their instructional support needs, and now this is what you're going to do about it. I promise you, if you do that, they will take any data question, any survey that you give them much more seriously, because they'll be like, oh, they're really going to make decisions based on this. Work with the school leaders and the school improvement teams to use the data in school improvement plans, kind of work with leaders across the state to use the TWC and broader regional kind of charter school strategic plans, and then share the data with your board. I cannot stress this enough. I'm on a charter school board, and this was when we had our academic excellence committee. This was one of the things that my school leader and I worked worked on together about how we were going to talk about this data with the broader board. I think it's really important that the board understand what this data is and how it compares broadly to the state. And then share this data with elected officials and the community to advocate for your teachers in our public schools. If you go to the next slide. We've got we are continuing, not only are we all doing data analysis, but we're like adding resources to the teacher working conditions page to help. We gathered a bunch of examples about how schools use teacher working conditions for toolkits, for grant proposals, for school improvement plans, and we've collected some of those and have them included on the TWC resources page. And then we also just released a promising practice. So DPI has been collecting promising practices from around the state. My good friend Angie Mullinex is leading that work. And this specific promising practices is about using TWC data. And we've got examples from all across the state, from Clay County, Wake, and in Brunswick. So really encourage you. And if you have good examples of how your charter school is using this data, please let me know and we will put that on the resources page for others to learn from you. If you go to the next slide, I think that's the end, and happy to answer any questions you guys might have. But that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Korn. Really important information. Look forward to kind of selfishly diving into my school's results as well. I'm sure many others are feeling the same way. Any questions or comments for Dr. Korn? Well, you did such a great job. We have no questions.
Well, I'm sorry I couldn't unmute quick enough. This is John Eldridge. Jenny, as always, I really appreciate the work you put into this. And Rhonda Dillingham texted me during your presentation, Ryan, that their association does a state conference every year that has opportunities for teachers to get any PD opportunities that they might want to take advantage of. And I agree. The scheduling issue of trying to get in-house opportunities for teachers to be able to see great teachers in your building. Every one of us that lead a school has those one or two teachers just knock out testing data every year. And we send teachers every place else but in their classrooms to see what they're doing that's different, because those are our students that they're doing well with. And if that person can, what is it that we can't or can replicate that we can get into the other classrooms? So I appreciate you pointing that out.
Yep, thank you, John. Definitely a challenge we face as well. Any other questions or comments for Jenny?
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for having me. And like I said, we'll be working with our friends in the Office of Charter Schools to get y'all the kind of next round of data over the next week or so. We just got all that pulled together. And yes, please feel free to reach out if you all have questions. Like I said, I feel great responsibility. Teachers took the time to fill out the survey, and I just really am committed and dedicated to making sure that we're using the feedback that they gave us. So thank you all. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Korn. All right. So I am up next, I believe. Okay. So I'm going to go over the charter agreement quickly with you, and that should hopefully be quicker than the performance framework presentation. So as you guys know, at your May 31st special call, I believe, you guys approved the revisions to the charter agreement. I then had to bring that to state board the following week. And there was one section that had some discussion and some revision. So let me pull that. Here it is. Okay. So if you listen to state board last week, the question came up regarding the fact that 7.2 had stated a charter school shall not limit admission to students on the basis of race, creed, national origin, religion, or ancestry. The question was why it did not state sex. The answer was because 7.2 was directly pulled from statute. So we just, had it exactly as statute, which basically said that, if you have a approved charter school for single sex education, you may limit admission on the basis of sex. After some discussion, we decided that the state board would approve it with revision, and the revision was to add an additional sentence or some additional text to the final sentence, which you can see here in green. So what it now states is further, a charter school may not limit admission on the basis of sex, except that a charter school whose approved mission is to provide single sex education may limit admission on the basis of sex, consistent with federal and state law. So just added a little bit of language to what is in statute so that it was very clear that, consistent with federal and state law, a charter school may not limit admission on the basis of sex, except for those very specific situations, which I believe we only have one in the state currently, where the school is an approved single sex education program. So that is the change. This was approved by the state board. And now I wanted to bring it back to you to get your approval again. We are under a very tight timeline. Should you approve this today, which I'm hoping we can get it passed, we need to get it out today so that our schools whose charters expire June 30th have time to get it in front of their board, get it notarized, sent back to us, and then we have to get it signed and notarized by the superintendent. So that's the timeline we're working under, and that is the kind of a summary of why I'm bringing this back to you after you approved it May 31st. Any questions on that?
Ashley, this is Bruce. Just thank you. And I did listen into last week's meeting, and you handled this very well in terms of the questions that were coming up as to why it wasn't included, and then adding the additional language. Just for the sake of all my fellow CSRD members, is it safe to say, and I think he's on the call, Stephen Walker, that adding this, our legal has reviewed this and has agreed to this as well? Would that be a correct statement?
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a wording change. I don't think it was anything, any kind of change to the actual meaning of what was already there.
Thank you, Steve.
Mr. Friend, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to accept the charter agreement as amended.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Stephen Gay.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Any discussion? Okay, Ashley, why don't we go ahead and do a roll call vote just so we hear everybody?
Yep. Stephen Gay,
Approve.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby, Todd,
Aye.
okay. Eric Sanchez, Eric Sanchez, okay. Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right. Great, that passes. So we will get those to,
Eric came off mute. I don't know if he's having some technical difficulties or what, but I see him coming off mute.
okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you very, very softly or low volume.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Eric. There you go. Okay, so we will get these out. If you happen to be a charter renewal school listening, we will get these out to you, and Jenna Cook from my office will be in touch very soon about this, so we can get you your new agreements, which I'm sure you've been waiting for. All right, so performance framework. I have a little bit of a presentation on this. I'm really excited to bring this forward to you. This has been an undertaking in our office now for a while. And so I want to kind of give a little bit of background and information about why you're hearing about this. So as you all know, if you are leading a charter school or work in a charter school, we have the annual accountability tool, which is called the performance framework. This started in 2014, and since that time, 10 years now, there has been no real substantial modification to it. So we really wanted to take the time with all of the new legislative changes, the fact that, since 2014, we've had a huge increase in the number of charter schools, to think about whether it was serving its purpose in the most effective way. Our objective as an office in looking at this tool was, one, we want to provide a transparent accountability tool. That's the entire really purpose behind performance frameworks, which are used among all kinds of different authorizers. But we wanted it to be concise, easy to understand, and demonstrates accurate and relevant compliance metrics. I will say that in this process, we've done research on other states. We've reached out to other states. Some of our staff have had conversations with other authorizers. It has been interesting to say, just in terms of how other places do it, other authorizers, it really is all across the board. But I don't think there's really a good apples to apples comparison for our state, because very few authorizers, very few states have a single authorizing office such as OCS, and very few states have as many charter schools as ours. So when we were looking at ours, we really wanted to be cognizant of, the work that goes into providing these materials, and then the capacity we have to make sure that we are, reviewing this in a reliable way. So we wanted to focus on the most reliable indicators of charter school health, operations, governance, finances, and academics. We wanted to make sure that everything was aligned to statute, charter agreement, policy, and/or rules, and that this provides an at-a-glance picture of the kind of operational foundation of a school. This tool is not meant to be something you can look at in 3 pages and understand everything, but gives you a really good, I would say, overview of a school, and for our team to be able to use it as kind of a red flag, so to speak, if there are risk indicator, if there are areas that are not being met consistently by a school. So last year we began discussions. We had full team work sessions to literally go over everything in the current performance framework. We then started working more closely just with the smaller accountability and performance framework team, worked with me to kind of determine what revisions we wanted to finalize. And then we're presenting those to you today. We're hoping to get approval so we can just have it formally approved by you guys. And then our plan is in August, this summer, to roll out the information on the new performance framework and then implement it with the 2025 cycle. So the next steps, we are bringing this to you today, and I will go over it step by step in just a second. When we roll it out to the field, whatever changes we do have, we want to provide a letter of explanation, which just kind of explains what I'm explaining to you now today. Provide the new template, a guidance document we have been working on, the team's been working on, which will have the criteria, the accountability or the authority reference, so whether it's statute or policy, etc., and then resources, all on one document. That should make it a very easy and hopefully a tool that for our schools that are new or that are struggling, something that can really help and guide them. And then also a best practices guidance. So some of the things we have taken out of the performance framework are not actually required by law. And so we are going to put those into a best practices kind of guidance document that encourages schools to follow those, but is not a requirement. An example is the number of board meetings a school has. There's nothing that used to be on the performance framework, and that is not actually in law or policy. So that would be something we would put in best practices. And then we hope to roll it out with the 2025 performance framework, which begins in September. And that would begin with the first legislative deadlines, which relates to some of these criteria, such as the Parents' Bill of Rights. All schools will be required to report on that September 15th. So that's kind of the timeline we're on. All right, so I'm going to give you an overview, and then I'm going to actually pull up the framework so that this will make more sense. But in general, what the revised performance framework is going to look like. Previously, we just had some basic information at the top. We had the name, your school code, and the grade levels. We now have more of a school profile so that someone could the first thing they see is what kind of school is this? Is it a, alternative? Is it a remote school? What the performance grade, growth status, and if they're low performing is. And then previously it was divided into A, B, C, D sections. Logically, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. So we have changed it to operational, governance, financial, and academic. And the abbreviations, rather than an alphabetical number, correlates with operational would be OP, et cetera, governance, GOV. And section B, which regards renewal, has been completely removed, and I'll explain that. We also are changing our language, our standard language. Previously, schools would be given a status of either compliant, not compliant, or not applicable. We've discussed that as a team and would like to use met and not met. The reason being that most of these things are something that, you're providing a policy, or you're, doing something like displaying your school performance grade. That really isn't a measure of compliance, as opposed to whether you're meeting or not meeting a requirement. Because someone can have a policy, and perhaps they don't have a policy, but they're actually doing what they need to do, or perhaps they have a policy and they're not actually compliant in that policy. So we are moving to a met, not met framework. For operational, several items have been removed. So the items that have been removed are either because, one, they're redundant to something that's already being collected, and we know how taxing it is on a school to keep up with the kind of operational and like the paperwork behind a charter school, with no central office to help do that. And so we're really trying to focus on the things that are absolutely required. So we've taken out things regarding EVOS administrators and school improvement plans. That is handled in a different section, and that really applies mainly to our low performing schools. AD and projection, that used to be an area that was our least met, where you had to project within 10%. That no longer applies because the enrollment system has changed. The legislation has changed. We've taken out materials, licensure requirements, and dissolution funds. Those are still required, but those are already checked in your yearly audit. So it seemed it was redundant to have us do it as well. Certificates of occupancy, we already do that for our new schools and for relocations. So there's really not a reason for a school to have to supply that every single year. And then again, number of board meetings, there's no legal authority for requiring number of board meetings, so that has been removed. We'll put that in the best practices. We have also, and I'll show, this will make more sense when you see it, but previously for state, federal law, and for health and safety requirements, they were all in one number. So they were previously A5 and A17. So they, for example, health and safety has 6 different things that you have to do as a school. You have to do diabetes training, you have to do EpiPen training. Previously, if you did miss one of those, it was all noted as non-compliant. Now we have separated those, and you'll see that in just a second when I show you the framework. So that is very clear. Perhaps a school needs to do their diabetes training, but they have everything else done. This just makes it clear so that people know exactly what has been met or not met. And then the only new items we've added are items that are required by state law, and that schools will be supplying, have to report to DPI. And this will require no additional action on the part of the schools. We will simply pull this information from the divisions that are already collecting it. So the school mental health policy, the Parents' Bill of Rights reporting, and the school risk management plan. Governance, we've simply taken out the things that used to be in the section A with operations, and we've created a new section called governance. So I hear very clearly, these are not new requirements. They were already required, but we had previously put them in operational, and now we've put them in a governance section, so that it's very clear what governance kind of encompasses. Financial, there's only one criteria here, one measure that's always used. This comes directly from school business, and this has not changed. Academic has also not changed significantly. And again, this comes directly from accountability. So there's nothing that a school needs to do in terms of, work on your part, uploading or doing anything like that. Some of the information we've moved to the top, like a low performing status. So it's kind of in a school profile. And then we've added, previously only some of the subgroups were in the performance framework. We've added all of them so that it aligns with what we pull for renewals. We have removed male and female subgroup data. This does not use the renewal guidelines. And honestly, I've never seen it come up as an issue, but if it were something we needed to review, we can easily pull it. And then to make this kind of a tool that is helpful to people, we have also linked to the accountability data sheet and the alternative data if it's an alternative school, so that a school can easily take their performance framework and see exactly where we're getting this data. Or if someone, a stakeholder or someone wants to know for like in a public records sort of way. Okay, I think that's it. So let me show you what it looks like. Let's see. Okay, so you can see here this is kind of the school profile at top. We've just added some, mute whoever's. Try to beat this person. Okay. So you can see there's a school profile here. It just makes it a little bit clearer. Kind of, you can look and get a very good idea of what we're looking at in terms of the school, if it's an alternative or remote school. And then we've got our operational criteria. So this used to be A, now it's op. The big changes, again, there's nothing new until we get to the policies that we just talked about, but previously this section here, OP4 and OP5, used to be just one area. So it was sometimes hard it was very hard, especially with the health and safety, to know what exactly was non-compliant. It used to say non-compliant if you missed something. Now these will be broken out into these specific sections. So if, if a school has not met in any of these, they know what area specifically they need to fix for next year. We also got a lot of, external facing people would often say like, wow, there's, why are so many schools having health and safety issues? And it might've been as simple like, okay, they need a return to learn policy, right? So this just makes it very clear as to what exactly we're reviewing and whether a school is meeting it or not. This does not require any additional work on the schools because you're already doing it when you submit this stuff to DHHS each year. And in the annual fire inspection, we always review those as well. The 3 new items right here, so there's 9 total sections, are the Parents' Bill of Rights, School Risk Management, and School Mental Health. We've linked to the law that requires these. And again, this doesn't require anything additional on the school because you already have to submit these. And we will just work with the divisions that collect these to get the data on whether a school has met or not met that requirement. Governance is a new section. And again, these are not new requirements. These are all requirements that have been in the performance framework, but we've simply separated the operational from the governance. And then financial compliance has not changed. So this comes directly from school business, and whether a school is on cautionary, probationary, or disciplinary status would be put here. Accountability data. Oh, and let me back up real quick. We used to have another section here, renewals, and we've totally removed that section because one, it only applied to the renewal schools, and it's redundant because we are already doing that work, those reviews in the renewal section, the renewal process. So to put it in here was just additional work that really was not needed. For accountability, we will link the data here so that everyone knows how to find their accountability data, which is surprisingly a lot of questions come up about where accountability data comes from. And then if it's an alternative model, we will specify that here and also link the data for that, because that data is available, and it's easier if you review the data as a whole. For academics, again, this is all of the material, this is all the subgroups that we would review for renewals. It aligns with the state accountability data. We pull it directly from accountability and requires nothing new on the behalf of a school. So those are the changes. It is a 3-page document that hopefully will be, something that provides a very clear and concise picture of areas where schools are either need assistance in or are really, most of our schools meet all of these every year. So we don't have any concerns about them being able to meet it going further. All right, any questions?
Ashley, this is Rita Hare. Just want to say this is a great document. It's very streamlined and organized. You can tell that it's well thought out, and yet it's thorough in the criteria. I think this is a great tool for schools. I know that it's an internal document, and so a lot of the data that I'm looking for as more of an outside of the school setting person is not there, but it's not required. I understand what you're saying. Some items have been deleted. I think maybe the only missing data point that, again, I would want, but it's probably not needed, would be at the top. If I knew the size of the school. I mean, if it's K-5 or it's K-8 or it's K-12, but I have no idea of the size. Again, I know it's internal. They know their size, and I guess the reviewers do. So it's probably a moot point. But that's the only thing that crossed my mind. I think it looks very efficient, and I believe it will be an effective tool. So I really appreciate the work on this to improve this.
Thank you, Rita. And we do, for grade span here, we do put the grade levels. So if it's like K-5, K-12, I don't know if that's what you're referencing, but.
Right, no, I meant enrollment. So is it 300 or 800? That matters in a lot of decisions that are being made.
Yes.
Yeah. But thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Ashley, this is Bruce. I echo Rita's comments there. I guess I was, this may be my own, I don't know why I thought this. I actually thought there was a minimum number of times that boards had to meet during the year, but I guess I'm mistaken on that. But with that in mind, in the governing monitoring criteria, and maybe it's covered by the line Gov1, but ensuring again that boards are putting their meeting notes or meeting minutes publicly posted. I know obviously we've had some challenges with some schools recently around that, and I don't know if that's something to consider or just it's encompassed under Gov1 there in that first measure.
Yeah, I think we did kind of talk about that, and I think that was something we're doing like in the best practices document, and then also in the we're creating like a website audit that like self audit for schools, because we just don't have like a specific statute or anything to say like they must be posted online sort of thing. So it's kind of that was something we were moving to, even though it's something that obviously we look for that we ask schools to do. We were trying to stick specifically to the ones that we had like a very clear statutory reference, because we do sometimes get questions from people about where is this coming from?
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley.
Any other questions? I do think that I think the resource that we're creating will be really helpful for schools to have, like, for example, with these new documents, to have a linked resource so that new schools especially, but also every school that's going to have to be doing these new kind of Parents' Bill of Rights things will have resources very easily. Accessible. Our missions and lottery policies, right? We have new preferences almost every single year. It seems the statutes change for that. So being able to kind of provide guidance on that. Our hope is that this will make it, an easier process, and also perhaps a learning process for some schools that just need to be advised on changes to law and current requirements. So if there aren't any other questions,
I have a comment, Ashley. First of all, great work. This is excellent. You and your team done a wonderful job making this more simple and getting rid of the duplications that might show up in the audit. And I love the fact that you've removed the things that are best practices. So excellent work. I was very nervous when I saw that this was going to be on the agenda because I'm always worried about regulatory creep, but you did a great job just simplifying it, and I'm sure it's going to be well received by the charter school community. My only question is there a percentage of non-compliant items that would make a school be non-compliant? Where if they're only non-compliant on 2 or 3 of these measures, would the school still be deemed compliant? Have you guys talked about that, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, well, we're going to do it similar to how we do it now, where, so previously the status here in this like status box was either compliant or not compliant, or not applicable. We are going to do it met or not met, and then we'll do the final kind of report on performance framework in the same way where we do it now, where it's, a certain percentage of schools were between 80 and 100% of meeting all standards, or between 79 and 50%. The majority of the schools are between 80 and 100%. Most of the schools, the vast majority of schools, I think it's like 97%, meets at least 80% of all of these. So we aren't planning on changing or putting anybody on like a non-compliance kind of list. We're really trying to stick with like met or not met. And then internally, this will be used as, if a school, for example, is falling below that 80%, that would be something that would be like one of our risk indicators to check in with that school. Like if a school is really struggling with the governance sections, then perhaps we need to have a meeting with the board and just make sure that there is a functioning board, that maybe they need training. So really, we're trying to make it like very like specific to the indicators that would show like, okay, this school might be struggling and we need to offer assistance from the office, rather than something that says like, you're not compliant, and offers no help. Hopefully that kind of answers it, but we don't plan on using this as something that says like you are non-compliant. It would be more of a risk indicator if they really are struggling, and then perhaps it leads us to look into matters that would place them on governance non-compliance or something like that.
Yeah, that explains it. Thank you very much. But again, great work.
Thank you.
So Ashley, we need to officially adopt the new performance framework, is correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to adopt updated school performance framework?
Mr. Chair, this is Dave Machado. I'll make a motion that we adopt this.
Thank you,
Rita
Dave.
Hare, second.
Thank you, Rita. Any questions, further discussion? All right, hearing none, Ashley, let's do a roll call vote.
All right, Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez, Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right. Thank you so much. We, if any schools are listening, or those of you on the board from schools, we will be providing more information and kind of rolling this out with support this summer, so that everybody's ready for the many kind of reporting requirements from the General Assembly in September. All right. Next up, we have amendments. Wow, there are a lot of amendments. I would just like to shout out Julie Wetzel. She's fairly new to the office, and she's our newest consultant, and she has taken over amendments with the help of Nikki, and she's really, the last couple months have been a lot of amendments. So just thank you for all of your work on these, Julie, and let me know which one you want to start with.
Okay, we're going to start with Paul R. Brown. Good morning, everyone.
All right, let me pull it up.
And Paul R. Brown is requesting an amendment and their enrollment. They want to expand their enrollment. They are a public charter school in Blaine County, currently serving approximately 210 students in grades 6 through 12. They've been in operation since 2013, and they want to increase from 250 to 300 for the upcoming school year, which is an increase of 44%. They're currently designated as continuously low performing, and they're required to ask for approval from the Charter Schools Review Board. So you can see in the chart, beginning of the school year, 23-24, they were at 208, and for the upcoming school year, they are requesting 300. And they believe that they have the numbers to support this request. I can't see on the line, but is there somebody from Paul R. Brown on the call today? So they do actually, if you want to share their cover letter, they do have some additional information about their request. You can see the information they shared there. It doesn't sound like we have anybody from Paul R. Brown on the call today. I can try to answer questions, but I'm not sure I'll be able to answer all questions.
Thank you, Julie. This is Rita Hare.
Good morning.
According to my records and my recollection, Paul R. Brown is a continuing low performing school. Is that still the status?
Yes, that's correct.
And you know, I thought they've struggled with enrollment, so this is a new development. They have run around 100, 120 in a lot of my notes, 121. Well, that was a year and a half ago, so they've really, well, actually, less than a year ago, they were at 120 in enrollment. Does that sound correct, according to the OCS?
Yes, so the chart you see now is from School Business Services. So at the start of the school year, the first month ADM of the 23-24 was at 208. So it does sound they did grow from the numbers you had, Rita, and then and looking across that they originally requested a lower number, and they came back just about a month ago and believe they had the numbers to support that 300 number.
And so then in January of this year, they were placed on a financial noncompliance cautionary. What is the status of that?
I'm not sure if we have, I don't think we had a note about their financial status.
Yeah, thanks, Rita. Yeah, we have reached out to school business to determine if they've been taken off of that, because we thought they would have been removed, and we have not heard back from school business. So I'm unfortunately unable to let you know if they've been removed, but I would like to point out that they are continuously low performing, but for this previous 2023 year, the most recent data, they had a C and a MET growth. So they are not low performing this year. So if they are not low performing this upcoming year, when we get the accountability data from this year's testing, they will be removed from CLP. So we're hoping that's the case, in which case they'd be able to get off low performing status completely.
Right, that is great. That's great also as far as the improved performance. And I believe they came and presented a plan when they get a 3-year renewal, and so they brought to us a school improvement plan and had some great targets and strategies in place.
Yes, and I can also tell you that they were on the financial compliance status for their audit. It was a late audit. We do know the audit has been turned in, which is why we're assuming that they would be removed from, the financial non-compliance status, but we just haven't received official note of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there was a site visit at that time, right? There was a site visit in January? No, I guess in September 2023. So 10 months ago, 9 months ago, there was a site visit. Do you know if there was any development, any concerns from that?
I don't believe so. And since they were one of the schools that was on state board stipulations for renewals, remember when they set a couple schools on stipulations, I think a year or two ago?
Yes. Yes.
They're on our improvement team's like list of schools. And so I know, I believe it was Nikki Nowinski, who I'm not sure is on today, but she went out to the school several times and has worked with Dr. Ray on their school improvement, like kind of, how they're doing and checking in. And I do know from her experience, like from her visits, we've been seeing a lot of really positive things. So we're really hopeful that the data this year will, continue to show that they're making academic growth.
I do. It looks like something has turned around. It really does, because their academic performance is so much improved. And then we're looking at this enrollment where there's obviously interest and demand for the school. So those are all good indicators. There's still grades 6 to 12. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
When is this is Mr. Flynn, when is the renewal up? Is it next year? Or are they in their final their 3 years?
Oh, that's a good question. I think yes, it is. 2026 is their renewal date. So they're in the process again, and then you guys will vote in 2026.
Okay, thank you for that. It does seem like this is a school that's making on a positive trajectory compared to where they were at a year or so ago when they were coming before us for the last renewal.
And this is John. I would say the increased enrollment will certainly help with paying the bills. And if there's more people who want to come, obviously they're starting to send a good vibes in their community about what's happening at the school. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to that we accept this amendment or increase in enrollment.
Yep. We have a motion.
Second that.
Thank you, Stephen. Any further discussion?
No, I guess I would like to make a comment, since I have stressed some of the context around a little bit of their history. But I do note that last year, again, I mentioned this without being specific, but they came before us and they were at 150 then, but they were having Saturday schools and study halls, and they had remediation various times and dinners and trainings. And it was just, they have really worked hard to turn the school's performance around, and you can see now the enrollment's following. So I also agree I think that's great development.
Very good. Okay, Ashley, can we do a roll call vote, please? The motion on the table has been seconded is to accept this amendment request for enrollment expansion.
Yes. Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right, that passes, and we will let them know. Thank you. All right, next, who do we have next, Julie?
And next is Tillery,
Great.
and they are requesting a grade level expansion.
It's just there. Fine there. Oh, here it is. Okay.
Okay, so Tillery is located in Montgomery County. They're currently serving about 210 students in grades K-6. They've been in operation since 2019. They're requesting an amendment to their charter to expand to 7th grade. They are currently designated as continuously low performing, so they need to ask the Charter School Review Board for this request. And you can see some of their low performing status there in the executive summary. They've been designated continually low performing, and there are their school performance grades from the past couple of years. And then Ashley, if you'll scroll down a little bit, we do have some information about their compliance. They don't have any significant compliance issues. The school is still within the window to correct findings from a federal programs review. And then we have all their documents. And I do believe I see some representatives from Tillery on the call, so they'll be available to answer any questions the board has.
Thank you, Julie. Does anyone from Tillery Charter like to comment on this request? I don't know if they're on mute or.
Yeah, I see Ms. Barber and let's see, Mr. Goodall on the line.
Yes, I'm on here. It's Teresa Barber. I just appreciate you guys looking at this. You've seen what we've sent in. We're on target to continue to meet growth and possibly exceed this year with some testing results that we've seen come in, and we're showing a pretty steady enrollment coming in for the next year. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to look at this and, you know, hopefully make this amendment for 7th grade.
Any questions from CSRB members?
This is Stephen Gay. So at this time of the year, do you have enough 7th graders to expand for next year?
Yes, sir, we do.
Yeah, Teresa, do you want me to give an update on the enrollment numbers?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we are only currently 3 students shy of having a full complete class of 24 students for next year. This includes possible attrition as we a few students that may not be returning, and we currently have 2 applications in for 7th grade that we are awaiting enrollment on top of that. So we are close to meeting a full class of that 7th grade by the year. And just to comment on the growth of that, not only the lower grades that have had the curriculum from the beginning, but also the upper grades, specifically this 6th grade class. I know we can't say specific scores, but they really blew it out of the water this year on testing, and I'm really proud of the school.
This is Rita Hare. That's great to hear. And I also believe that Teresa Barber, you're the founding principal. So
yes, ma'am.
Consistency and leadership. You opened in 2019, so like you're in your 5th year and ready to expand by this grade. And I think last year was the School of D, which did indicate growth.
Yes.
Is that the 2023 data?
Yes, that's 2023, where 2022 went from F, and then 2023 to a D.
Right, and you're drawing students from about 6 surrounding LEAs.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, and we will be at 7 LEAs next year.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep, and we added a bus route last year, which helped, and will continue to do that. You know, pulling from the LEAs and the surrounding counties that see a need for their students to be here with what we're doing.
Well, that's great, and I appreciate your consistency and leadership. That's a plus. That really helps. So thank you for being here too.
Thank you.
Any further comments or questions?
Eric Sanchez. Unless I'm unaware of something, when gentleman said that he's not allowed to discuss scores because they're still preliminary or it's still not finalized, I think he can share those even though they're not set results, right? If he says they blew it out of the water, he can share that.
Sure. I believe last year, Teresa, that 5th grade, that was 5th grade last year, I think they were about 35% proficient. The 5th grade cohort was about 35% proficient in reading. This year, that number jumped to 54% or 53.8%.
Yeah.
For 5th grade?
For 5th grade reading,
5th
yes.
grade last year compared to what our current 6th graders did this year, who were the 5th graders last year.
Yes. And then
The current 6th graders who would be the ones occupying this 7th grade class jumped up from, what was it again?
About 35%. I would have to get the exact numbers, but it was in the 30s. And now they're 53.8% proficient. So, and a lot of these kids were with the school from the beginning too. So they've shown that growth over the period. And obviously we had COVID. So that was no testing during that year.
So good sizable jump.
Yeah, and not only that, last year's 3rd graders were 57% proficient in reading, as you see in our letter that we sent. This year, that number went up to 68.75%.
Well, what do you attribute to these jumps?
If I can speak to that, we obviously, with being low performing, we've received a good amount of funding from PRC 105. We've started after-school tutoring for the students, and then brought in a couple interventionists to use throughout the school day. And just teacher consistency. Last year, our teacher retention rate for the past 2 or 3 years was at 91 and 94%. So keeping our teachers and then offering the tutoring after school, obviously free of charge, and bringing the interventionists in, I think has played a huge part in that.
Great, thank you for sharing.
Sure.
And just to add, a lot of people say, well, what happens when you don't become a low performing school? The school has a plan in place to where they can keep those interventionists over time. If, once PRC 105 leaves and, we become a C school as we expect. This coming year.
I'm sorry, can I confirm who that was speaking?
I apologize, Anthony Rodriguez.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
And what is your role?
I'm a consultant with the school that helps on these issues.
Okay, and is that through Goodall Consulting, or is that another?
Yes, that's through Goodall Consulting.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I apologize.
Any other questions for folks at Tillery? Would anyone like to make a motion on this request to allow them to expand to the 7th grade?
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare, and I make a motion that we approve Tillery's request to add 7th grade for the coming school year.
And I'll second. This is Dave Machado.
Thank you both. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to make one comment. This is a school that, when its first year it opened, barely made that 80 student mark, and for them to be where they are right now is a compliment to your leadership, and we really appreciate the hard work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Ashley, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge. John, you there?
Sorry about that. Aye.
Okay. All right, we got it. Thank you, Tillery. That passes unanimously, and we will we'll send your approval letter to you and also school business so they have record.
Thank you.
All right.
Next, we have movement. We have 2 amendment requests from the Movement Board of Directors. The first one is a mission statement.
Let's look at this one.
Okay. And a movement is requesting a mission statement change for 4 of their schools. So the executive summary will reflect that for all 4 schools. So the Movement School Board of Directors currently operates 4 public charter schools in Mecklenburg County. The board wishes to change the mission statement for 4 schools. Previously, those 4 schools each had their own mission statement. So they were requesting that they have one common mission statement for the 4 operating schools. And actually, if you scroll down, you can see what they're requesting their new mission statement is. I won't read all those previous mission statements for each school, but for all schools, they were requesting their mission statement to be, we exist to love and value scholars and communities by leading a movement of excellence in education. In partnership with our families, we equip our scholars with the tools to close generational gaps through self-efficacy, access to world-class instruction, and financial education. They did get input from stakeholders, school leadership, and board of directors, and we have the required documents here in our office. And we do have representatives from the Movement Board of Directors on the line if there are questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone from the school like to just give a quick summary of why you feel this changes?
Sure, I'll be glad to. This is Tim Hurley. We really just streamlining. They each had a little bit of variation, but the same meaning. And so as we work to tighten up our policies and processes, we wanted them to all have the exact same language. And we feel this language best reflects the mission of the school.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Any questions from the CSRB members? right, hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to accept this proposed change in their mission statement?
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare, and I make a motion that we approve Movement School's revised mission statement.
Second, Shelley Shope.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Shelley. Any further discussion? Okay, Ashley, let's do a roll call vote.
All right. Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right, that passes. We have another one, I believe, from Movement. Let's see.
Yes, should be for a second delay for Movement West Charlotte. Okay, so Movement West Charlotte is a K-5 public charter school that's been approved to open in Mecklenburg County. They're currently ready to open. They had a one-year delay that was approved in October 2023 to open fall 25, serving K-1 student. They're requesting a second delay to open in August 2026, which must be approved by the Charter School Review Board. And the Board of Directors has the property on Beatty's Ford Road, but they want some time for the permitting and construction and want to ensure that they had that educational certificate of occupancy. And so in those charts below, you can see the original enrollment and then the proposed fall 2026 enrollment chart. There are some changes you can see in the third through fifth grade levels. And then for reference, there is also a chart there that shows for other schools, they have it ready to open status.
This is Rita Hare. I think Tim Hurley is on the line. Just wondering if you would address the expectation when you do open on the delay schedule, if this is approved in 2026. Your grade levels are the same, it's a year delay, and then the number projections are larger. So to what do you attribute the expectation that after that first year, you're going to grow at an increasing rate than originally planned?
Thank you. Really pulling from the current enrollment trends that we're seeing as each year we've worked to get better and better at our process, have a better sense of what our leading indicators are. And so we feel like we have just a great ability to enroll more students, which, as you all know, makes all of the budgeting and everything work better.
Mm-hmm. So I know it's early, but do you have any kind of indications? I'm sure the application stated some of interest or demand for the school. Or are you collecting any data in that way at this point?
The primary way in which I'm analyzing demand is by looking at the trends for our currently operating schools. So Southwest, Southwest, Freedom, and then Eastland. And what we're seeing is just strong demand there, and looking at the number of folks enrolling in Freedom from a zone that is close to Northwest. That's the primary drivers. I don't have the data with me immediately in terms of the actual outreach from folks interested in this school. My sense, though, is that we've just been doing general advertising, so we're not actively collecting applications for this school at this point.
Right, I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding this request? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare. I'll make a motion that we approve Movement School's request for West Charlotte to have another one-year delay. I guess it would be the second delay.
Yep, thank you, Rita.
I will second.
Thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, Ashley, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Yep. Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez, Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All
Eric
right.
Sanchez, aye.
Oh, thank you, Eric. Okay, that passes. And Mr. Hurley, we will send you out your approval letters and get you in the delayed RTO cohort.
Thank you.
All right. In Monroe, is this our last one, I think?
Yeah, Monroe has two requests. So they are requesting a relocation of over 5 miles, and they are also requesting a grade level expansion. So we'll talk about the reload request first. Monroe Charter Academy is a public charter school in Union County, currently serving approximately 125 students in grades K through 6. They've been in operation since 2019. They're a Title I charter school serving approximately 78% economically disadvantaged students, and they met expected growth during the academic years 2021 to 22 and 22-23. They're requesting approval to relocate from the current address to a new address at 7513 Brooms Old Mill Road in Waxhaw, and it's approximately 12 miles away. This relocation is, they say that this relocation is necessary to accommodate their expanding student body and enhance their educational facilities. And we've received all required documents in our office, and I do believe we have several board members and their school leader on the call for questions.
Thank you. So a question for the folks at Monroe. Am I correct that you don't have another, this isn't a matter of moving from one building to another? Well, it is, but you don't currently have a location for your school if this is not approved. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, that is a correct statement.
What outreach have you done with your past families to know that, is this going to be a hardship for them, or what's been the feedback you received thus far around this potential move?
Yes, so with our families, we send out multiple surveys. We've also had communications with parents face-to-face at different events that we had at the school throughout this whole process, so they've been aware. At this time, we, as far as transportation, we've assured the families that we will be providing transportations to make sure that it's not a hardship for them. At this time, we have 3 buses that will be running, and we are working to purchase a 4th bus. So that way we'll have 4 buses to get our students back and forth. For those families that need after school, we will also be providing after school for them, and we'll be providing transportation to get them home after school.
Is the building at this new location already approved for educational use?
We're in the process of getting the educational certificate of occupancy, but they already have their certificate of occupancy. They already have classrooms set up and ready, so it's more of a turnkey.
Okay, thank you for those responses. Other questions from board members?
And Dr. Ford, where are you in your renewal? You're in your first year of a 3-year renewal?
That is correct, yes.
Do you anticipate this new location in Waxhaw to be easier to draw more students, or are you relying on your existing students to make the move with you?
Actually, a little of both. We believe that majority of our students, based on the surveys and the responses from parents, that they will follow us as well. We have also extended our marketing to the Waxhaw area to gain additional students from that area as well.
Other questions? What have you submitted a revised budget for the school related to this new location?
No, we have not submitted a revised budget. The board is working to have that submitted. And I also have my board chair on the line as well, and also my board vice chair. I will say, as far as our budget wise, we are projected by the end of June to have a surplus this year of close to $230,000, which is larger than we've had since opening.
Dr. Ford, this is Rita Hare.
Yes, ma'am.
That's good news. I think that let's see, you're in your 5th year of operation and you are the founding principal. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Yes, that's good. I have a few concerns, but I don't know that they're anything that would stop this. But that The move is over 12 miles. I guess it looks like it's southwest of your current location or mostly west of your current location. I don't know. I haven't seen anything regarding that facility, how it is. I heard Mr. Friend say you don't have another facility, so this is it. This is necessary. But can you describe like what facility you're moving into and the accommodations, what it will provide for your school?
Yes, I will. We're moving into a church. However, the section of the church that we're moving into is all like a multi-purpose area and classrooms. So we will not even be entering the church part of it, like the sanctuary, the main office area. We'll have our own entrance in our whole section of the church ourselves, of the building, I'm sorry.
Right, and the inquiry about your budget, you're paying the church a rental fee? Is that how that would work?
Yes, we will.
Dr. Ford, I'd like to go back to my earlier question, just again to clarify perhaps.
Yes, Mr. Friend.
Does it have an educational certificate of occupancy?
That is what we're working to obtain as we speak, is the educational certificate of occupancy.
Dr. Ford, like, if I could speak to that. So I'm Terrell, I'm a board member. So I've spoken with Union County, and we have the environmental coming out to do their inspection and their fire inspection. I asked them about the educational CO. They say, well, you have a certificate of occupancy. They're not aware of educational CO. So they said that's the first they ever heard of it. And but we do have the environmental come out to do their inspection, and we do have our fire inspection coming out to do their inspection, as well as the DOT to look at the road, the Outwood Road as well.
Do you know, this is John Eldridge. Do you know if the church has a sprinkler system? Fire sprinkler?
That I am not 100% sure.
If it doesn't, to my knowledge, it's going to require one, and that's just thinking of the cost of any DOT improvements, and then also the sprinkler system. I think that's I would be asking that of the fire marshal whenever that inspection comes up, but I'm fairly certain you're going to need a sprinkler system for it to get a educational certificate.
Yeah, it's on schedule. I know we have it on schedule. I don't know, Dr. Ford, do you know what date they're scheduled to come?
It should, they're coming this morning at 11:40.
Okay.
This is Rita Harrigan. I do believe when we opened that the intention always was to continue to add grade levels.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not just seventh grade this year, but you would want to continue to grow and let those students attend there. Financially, there were some questions last year about the fund balance versus the government fund balance. Do you have any comments about the financial status of the school?
The only comments I have at this time of the finance of the school is that we're in good financial status. We have stayed within our budget according to the budget that we have, and we've been working with Acadia. We are projected to close out this school year of having a surplus of close to $230,000.
Okay, and then we have the document you submitted about the expansion shows enrollment history, and it has the K-6 enrollment in year 5. That's this current school year, right? You opened in 2019 at 153, but unless I misheard Julie when she introduced the school, you're at 125.
That was a typo. I believe it was a typo on my part, but yes, ma'am. This year, our enrollment was 153.
So the enrollment this year was not 125.
No, ma'am.
153 students. And the projection would be next year 175.
Yes,
Has
ma'am.
that been stated clearly? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And you met growth this year. What was that grade that you earned?
We're still considered F school, even though we met growth.
Okay, and I think it was the same way the prior year.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Right, okay, thank you, thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Dr. Ford.
Thank you.
Has there been a DOT traffic study done around this site?
No, no, sir, we have not.
Okay. Yeah, I understand the pickle. This is Mr. Friend. I do appreciate the pickle that you're in, that this is, it's kind of all counting on this one location, but you're going to have an educational certificate of occupancy.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have had some type of, I would assume, traffic study done. You know, it's the middle of June. I don't know, Ashley, when would your office have to have all that documentation by?
Well, definitely before the start of the school year, because what we have to do for any relocation and for any of our new schools is we have to provide those certificate of occupancies. We have to have them in the office, and then we have to notify school business, and then that's when they will approve the funding to drop. So until, we have that, then the state funding will not flow to the school, and kids cannot occupy the building. So when is your first day of school? Dr. Ford?
Students' first day of school is August 14th.
Okay, so we would have to have everything, prior to that. In some counties, counties do it differently, their certificates of occupancy, but the most important thing when you're talking to Union County is that we need to see that the use on the occupancy states for educational or for a school use as opposed to, a church or a multi-purpose use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can state school use or multi-purpose use?
No, it needs to state educational.
Oh, school use. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
And Dr. Ford, this is John Eldridge again.
Yes, sir.
I don't know when you initiated the DOT study, but my experience has been those reports take up to 30 to 60 days to complete. So whomever it is that's coming out from DOT, not that I don't know if it'll help or not, but I'm sure you might want to share the timeline that you're under so that they can hopefully move along quickly for you.
I definitely will. Thank you for that information.
This is Terrell again. Just to reiterate what you said, Union County is aware of, and I talked to the head of the environmental department, and she said she will put us on a fast track, and she's going to try to get everything done for us within 30 days.
Okay, any other comments or questions for?
I just want to confirm with OCS, because I have multiple documents dated June 2024 from the Office of OCS that their enrollment is at 125 as a K-6 school. Do we have record that it's actually 153?
I believe we have numbers from like the first month, but I don't know. And actually, do we get current enrollment numbers throughout the year?
We're looking it up right now, Rita. We can pull it from school business. So we're just looking real quick.
I guess I'd also like Dr. Ford, I know we've asked her to speak to a number of things, and I appreciate your patience, Dr. Ford, but if you could speak to your expectation as far as families, if you have 153 students, however many families that involves, and what you're getting is feedback as their willingness to make this move 12 and a half miles in another direction from where they've been coming to school.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any data? Do you have any kind of hard information as to families going to follow the school?
I do not have complete hard data for you to be able to submit to you. I have some data from the parents that have responded. I have also made communication talking to parents verbally. They definitely want to follow us. Their hold up throughout the whole time has been we're waiting on you guys to get a building. We want you to get a building. Our kids have been with you for 1, 2, 3 years. We love what you're able to provide here. All of your staff know our kids, know our children by names. Our children love coming. That's the feedback that we're getting. So they definitely don't want us to not open. Throughout this entire process, I've been very transparent with the parents to let them know what we're doing. We're looking for locations in the Monroe area, what our challenges were. I even went and spoke before the city of Monroe on May 14th, reiterating our need, what we were trying to do, what we wanted to do. So they've been on this journey with us, so it's not like we've been doing it by ourselves.
Can you give us some sense, and you say you don't have hard data, but you have some data? Can you put some actual numbers to that of your families that were with you last year that would be eligible to return? And what % would you say are definitely going to follow you to this location if you get it?
Yes. So as of June the 7th, we have approximately 130 current families that will follow us. And then we have an additional 6 brand new families who have confirmed that they will be following us. And I still have 80 more families to contact that are going to be new.
Okay, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments from board members?
Mr. Chair, this is Dave Machado. I have real concerns about this school, this move, but if we don't approve it, then we're basically shutting this school down. They have a 3-year renewal. I think we should do everything we can to support them during these 3 years. And if we don't approve this request to move, then the zoning and issues won't even be addressed, even though I'm very concerned that they might not be able to get this done in time. So I'm going to make a motion that we do allow this to move. But I am very concerned that they might not be able to get it done, but that we got to do step 1 for them to move forward. So I'll make a motion that we approve the relocation.
This is John Eldridge. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'm going to just echo what Dave said. I'm really, if they don't know if this church has a sprinkler system, and if they're going to bring buses on something that may not be approved for buses by DOT, and they're going to be bringing people from that far away on buses, it's going to be a heavy lift. But I mean, again, like we said, if we don't approve it, they're going to shut down. But if they don't get by that, it's going to be they're in the same pickle. So I hope they understand the sense of urgency, and I believe they do.
Yes, sir, definitely understand.
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare, and I will be supporting it for the same reasons. I think the school has got to pull this off, but I do recall last year when it's just August, not even a year ago, we really deliberated about that 3-year renewal because the challenges are really greater than, just the fire suppression, which is important, but there were other things that concerned us about the school that may have been resolved. That I see they've made some progress, but I do think that this move, the impact could go either way. That will be something we discover once they do it. I hope they're able to accomplish it because I got some challenges ahead. But again, I agree with Mr. Machado that there's not an alternative, essentially, that they need to make this facility work and get this move going.
Thank you.
This is Ashley Vaquero. We did confirm the enrollment in month 7, which is the last data we have was 153.
I do have one other thing. I'm curious. I haven't read anything that explains what happened in the current facility, why a move was necessitated. Can someone address that? I know we're in the discussion phase.
I can address that. This is Dr. R.J. Lightsey I'm the vice chair of the board. And simply, we had a lease contract that expired. The church that was hosting us as a school just decided not to continue that lease. They actually beginning a lease with another school. And it was nothing on our part, it's just that our contract expired.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is Mr. Friend again. I just gotta say, I'm gonna support it, but I really have a lot of hesitation here. Not knowing if the school even is gonna qualify for an educational certificate of occupancy, traffic study. If I'm doing the math correct in my head, Ashley, the number you just said was month 7, they had 153 students. And we just heard them say that 130 committed for next year. I mean, that's 85% of the families saying that they absolutely will come. I'm struggling to think that that's going to be the case, but I know a no vote shuts you down basically today. So I think you've got a lot of work to do in the next 30 to 45 days.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion to approve the request to move their facility beyond 5 miles. We have a second. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I apologize for not seeing this earlier, but I will be recusing myself from this vote.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Any further comments? Okay, Ashley, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right, that passes. So Dr. Ford and your board, we will send out a letter, and then of course we'll need to be in very consistent communications with us this summer, just so we know the status and we can make sure that everything gets to school business to get your state funding in the fall. And then we still, board, we have the 7th grade expansion request also for you to consider.
Julie, do you want to introduce that?
Yes, so the second part of their amendment request is a request for a grade level expansion to 7th grade. And you can see the information about their status as far as being continuously low performing, some historical data there. And Ashley, you can scroll down a little bit, and I believe there's some information about where they are with their renewal status and where they are with their enrollment, which we've discussed. So they did have one federal programs funding in November, but it was closed out, and they do have some renewal stipulations, but at this time that they have met their stipulations as of the state.
Mm-hmm. Right, so regarding this request, I feel like that this will actually enable some of the families to follow them. I think they will need that grade expansion to bring their students with them and help their growth and enrollment. So I feel like I'll be in support of this. Thank you.
Any other questions or any questions for folks in Monroe regarding this request? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, this is Rita Hare. I move that we approve the request for adding a grade level to Monroe Charter Academy for the current school year, coming school year.
Thank you. Would anyone like to second?
That's John Eldridge. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, Ashley, let's go for a roll call vote, please.
Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right, that passes, and Dr. Ford will get a letter out to you into school business so they know you're expanding. Thank you very much. I think that, Julie, is that it for amendments?
Thank you guys
That's it for
very much.
amendments.
All right, so let's, we're almost right on track, but we've been sitting for a while. So the next up is the Remote Academy Amendment applications. We have two of those. Actually, we've got four or five of those, two of those, four. I can't count.
Four, yeah, four.
Let's take a 6 minute, let's reconvene at 11 o'clock, give everyone a little bit of chance to stretch a little bit and come back at 11 o'clock. So if you're on the line, just say, don't.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll come back at it.
Yeah.
So 11 o'clock, we'll reconvene.
Thank you to Julie for those amendments.
Thank you.
Ashley, I'm ready to begin whenever we're ready to go back to live stream.
All right, we can stop. We kept the live stream rolling, so we're good.
Okay. And Julie, are you ready?
I think she's heading back.
Okay, we'll give it just a second.
Julie, you on?
I am here.
Okay.
So Julie, before you begin, I just want to make sure for the record, public record once again, I'm going to be recusing myself from the Remote Academy Amendment application request from Pine Springs Preparatory Academy, as I am the head of school of Pine Springs. Dave Machado has also recused himself as he is a board member of Pine Springs. However, I will be speaking on behalf of our application as a member of the private community, not as a member of the Charter School Review Board, and that has been cleared through legal. Then John Eldridge will lead this specific presentation.
Yeah, and Bruce, one more thing on there. Just you need to just confirm that nothing that you are providing to the advisory board is based on any non-public information that you may have received in your capacity as a Charter Board Review member.
I can confirm that. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
And the same for you, Mr. Machado, if you're going to be doing any presentating.
I can confirm that, and I won't be doing any presenting, but I can confirm that.
Thank y'all.
All right, Julie.
Okay, we are moving on to Remote Charter Academy applications. Our first applicant is Pine Springs Preparatory Academy. And as a reminder from last time, we do have documents loaded that reference the legislation, and then there's an interview protocol document. So it will be 10 minutes for the applicant to give the opening statement, 15 minutes for CSERB discussion, 5 minutes for applicant closing statement, and then 10 minutes for deliberation and vote. That is the time that we've allotted. All right, and we will move on and let Pine Springs, they do have a presentation, and it looks like it's up, so you're ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Julie, and thank you, Charter School Review Board, for taking time to consider our application. We are requesting an amendment to our application to allow us to have a different type of remote learning academy. And I also want to thank that I see a couple of staff members who have helped put this together, as well as looks like I have 5 board members on the line here as well who could answer questions if desired. But again, my name is Bruce Friend. I'm the head of school at Pine Springs Preparatory Academy. Thought I'd just take the first opening part of our time here today just to kind of refresh you a little bit about our school. We are a K public charter school located in Holly Springs, North Carolina, Wake County, governed by an independent nonprofit board, obviously tuition free. We opened in the fall of 2017 with 500 students, and we're actually granted a 10-year charter renewal by the State Board of Education in 2021. This past school year that we wrapped up a few weeks ago, we had an enrollment of 1,250, and we've had 1,900 on the wait list, which has been a pretty common theme in our school since we opened, which is great demand. And a good problem to have, I guess you would say, is the number of families wishing to get their students into our school. Then we currently employ 125 staff members. Next slide, please. So we're actually one school, but 2 campus buildings. I wish anyone who wants to come out and visit us, please do so. In the upper left, you see our elementary school building. In the lower right, you see our middle school building. And so again, 1 campus, but 1 school, but 2 campus buildings make up our school. And we've also recently added a blended learning campus, which is a few miles away. Next slide, please. So we're requesting very specifically an amendment that would allow us to run a fully virtual academy. We already have a great deal of experience in running online and providing remote learning options. We've had a blended learning academy up and running for a few years now. And again, this virtual academy request would then allow us to serve students all across the state in a fully virtual environment. you don't have to pull up the cover letter, but hopefully you've had a chance to read the cover letter that I sent to you. We've got a tremendous amount of expertise in online and blended learning here at the school. It's been my background for 30 years, as well as Ms. Al Haroon, who operates our Blended Learning Academy. So I will say that I think if any school is prepared to do a good job in running an online and blended learning academy, we certainly have the expertise in the state to do so, and have been doing so. Next slide, please. So a little bit about our Blended Learning Academy. It opened in 2021-22. In the Blended Academy, students report 2 to 3 days a week for in-person support, and that also work online when they're not on campus. For next year, it'll be grades 5 through 9 with an estimated enrollment of 100 students. We've had a really strong demand for our Blended Academy. Truth be told, if we had more space to have more blended students, we would be able to serve far more than what that number is. And what we're starting to see too with our blended students and some of the families that like that flexibility of a schedule is the fully virtual option is one that they would like to have as well. A lot of our blended students and what we would anticipate for many of our potential fully virtual students is they're often pursuing interests outside of academics, outside of the school day. So for example, we have quite a few that are swimmers, equestrians, gymnasts, and the like. And we've had a lot of conversations with gyms in the region that are looking for students to have a fully virtual option in sports such as, for example, basketball, baseball, hockey. I could go on and on. Next slide, please. So our proposed virtual academy. So this would just be sort of a second remote learning option that we'd like to have. Again, it would provide another choice for families desiring a fully virtual option. Again, flexibility for families coupled with live instruction, learning coaches, field trip opportunities, and would be available for students throughout North Carolina. The one thing that we do like about the virtual academy, just as it is a blended academy, would have curriculum that's aligned closely with our current PSPA curriculum, which is core knowledge. And all of this to be delivered in the spirit of excellence that we have at Pine Springs, unwavering commitment to high quality. As I've told my staff and I've told my board who do support this, that if I didn't feel that we could do this with the vision of excellence and really supporting our students to be successful in the Virtual Learning Academy, it's not something that I would want to do, but I'm confident that we can make sure that all of our students, whether they choose our virtual path, the blended path, or the face-to-face path, receive a high-quality education to the caliper that PSPA stands for. Next slide, please. And just for this isn't really relevant to today, with the exception of, our vision of having and hope to have a virtual learning academy also ties into bigger plans for our school as well. You're not voting on this today, but we are looking to expand to the high school as well. We've been in conversation with a lot of both government and businesses in our area, particularly in the area of health sciences and biomedicine. We're looking at creating a really amazing high school experience that's tied to credentialing programs and internship opportunities for jobs that exist right here in Holly Springs. And the virtual academy does tie into that as well, because there is the opportunity down the road that if you approve, there can be a CTA, I'll call it track, but online courseware that will also tie into the students feeding into our potential high school as well. So our request is for you to hopefully approve our request to have a virtual learning academy. I think we've, as our documentation would have shows that we do have a great deal of experience in the world of online and remote learning. And we certainly hope that you would approve this request. We do have, as you see there, our projected enrollment. Those are projections. I mean, unlike a traditional brick and mortar where you know exactly how many chairs you could fit in a classroom, can't necessarily do that in the virtual environment, but we're going to target with about 500 students this year, growing it to 1,500 in future years. But I will tell you, being honest, these are really hard numbers to come up with. I've had a chance to work with virtual schools all across the country. I remember one of the very first ones I ever did was in Florida. I think our first year we had like 200 students, and by year 3 we were pushing 8,000. So it's really hard to come up with some of these numbers, but for the purposes of putting a budget together, we sort of went with the figures that you see there as well. With that, do I have, well, I'll pause there and then we'll open it up for questions that myself or any of my board members or our Director of Blended Learning could potentially answer.
Thank you, Mr. Friend. All right, board, this is our opportunity to be able to ask questions or make any comments regarding this application.
Mr. Eldridge, Dr. Eldridge, sorry, this is Rita Hare. Wonder if Mr. Friend would speak a little bit to his personnel and the budget, since this is a new structure for us in this coming school year. I know you've been currently doing this blended, so I assume that it's all a part of your one intact budget. And now this remote academy would involve a second budget, completely remote. And then I see a number of administrators, 6 clerical and instructors. Can you just kind of speak overall to what that instructional strategy looks like with this personnel?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rita. I think first of all, I want to acknowledge it's kind of challenging when because we already have a school budget approved, right, for our traditional and our blended model. And now a few months later, after that's approved, we're putting together a model for the actual virtual academy. Eventually, I think future years, this is all one school budget, right? Not separated out like this. So in our currently in our blended academy, we have a blended learning director, Ms. Al Haroon, who's on the call. And then we have some of our own staff that work with the blended learning students when they come in for their allotted time during the week. And then much like you heard from last week or last month's applicants, we use an outside service provider for some of the courseware and instruction as well. And we do that in our blended academy, and we plan to do that in our virtual academy as well. So the positions you see there are for our positions that will be necessary to run the fully virtual academy. Some of those positions will be positions that are direct employees of the school, reporting to me as the head of school, and then we'll also be utilizing an external service provider for some of the courseware and instruction as well. But what you see there are the positions that we know that we need to have in place to support a high quality virtual academy with the numbers of students that we're projecting as well. And I think.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
So to follow up on your personnel budget, are you saying that some of these are duplications with your currently blended academy?
No, they're not. They are not duplications.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Though I want to be clear, right now I have and this is probably the semantics of how we're defining this in the state of North Carolina that I think sometimes creates confusion. So we're already running a remote option, blended academy. What this request is for the virtual academy to be a different type of remote option, right? I would, if approved, foresee transitioning my current director of blended learning to being, you might call it the principal of all things remote at Pine Springs. So just as I have a lead administrator at my middle school, a lead administrator at my elementary school, I would have a lead administrator at in my remote option, my remote academies, which there are two different options, right? To make sure that all things are working smoothly, the students are performing and providing that extra layer of administrative oversight, which is currently what we do in our blended academy as well.
Bruce, this is John. I should know the answer to this question, but when looking at your budget, the projections of LEA, does the state only fund the LEA in which the school resides for your student population, or are you expecting students to attend your virtual academy from just about anywhere in North Carolina?
Yeah, that's a great question, John. I think that actually applies to all the schools that are applying for this type of option. You can enroll students. So in the application process, you identify whether you're going to target a very specific LEA or be statewide. We went ahead and checked the box statewide. I'll be honest, I don't know why you wouldn't, because that gives you the opportunity to enroll students statewide. So there's no limitation there. Honestly, John, in putting the budget together, again, in a virtual world, so much different than in the brick and mortar, where in the brick and mortar, you can kind of pretty well guess where your students are coming from. In the virtual world, how do you possibly do that? I mean, you can limit that. You can kind of set that based upon where you market your virtual academy too. But we just went ahead and used one LEA with an estimated local allotment, knowing for sure that probably we'll have students from multiple LEAs, but it would be a complete guesswork is to be able to put this budget together, and you're going to have 10 from this district, 5 from this district, 100 from this district. I think the saying goes, to be quite frank, and again, I think we're all learning this as we rolled this out this year at the state level, the grade level distribution. I mean, that's a real, you'll see that if you dive into the budget, you'd see how we allocated those numbers. But again, it's not like you're filling a certain number of brick and mortar seats. So it's quite possible that you might have a wider range of grade level distribution than what the budget actually shows.
I also believe I heard you say one time that a student that applies for your virtual academy decides that the virtual option isn't a good one for them and wants to come to the general population of seated students. That's not going to happen, correct?
Well, I would not envision that happening at our school, but I would say that, and you'll remember, I think there was a school that presented last month that they might answer that differently. My challenge, John, and again, it's a good challenge to have, mind you, is that all my brick and mortar seats are taken. I literally have no more physical space to put any more fifth graders or kindergartners. So that's a very important item that we'll have to address when we're speaking to potential families about the blended and the virtual. We already do it with blended. We have those conversations. Ms. Alperin has those conversations with families that, look, this is your commitment. Like you're committing to this version of Pine Springs, like the virtual academy, for example. And if you start in August and you realize it's just maybe not, it's not everything you thought it was going to be, and it's not the best environment for you. If you say, I need to switch to brick and mortar in September, I'm just not going to have any seats for you. So we have to be very clear up front that those sort of are the enrollment rules. Now, other potential virtual academies might have the ability to accommodate that. Currently, I don't. So we would have to make it very clear, and we will, that when you enroll in this particular option, that is the option that you're choosing.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Friends? Yeah, this is Rita Hare. I know that we're really entering a new universe here. When I look at the scope of your budget and the anticipated enrollment, all those things, I mean, this is somewhat close to, approving a new school. I mean, it's just not physical. We have schools that start smaller than this with a lower budget, with those kinds of things. This is huge. And I think that we're launching in August, right? Is this an August launch?
Yeah, the goal would be to launch in August. Obviously, we're in the middle of June, Rita. So we would have a lot of work to get done here to meet some of those numbers.
Well, I read some notes somewhere that it was, I'm pretty sure it was this school, 90% hired for the staff. Does that sound right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question, Rita.
That you've hired most of the staff?
Well, the staff is I don't have a virtual academy yet because you haven't approved it. So
you have not hired, that's a different school.
Yeah.
You haven't hired anyone yet.
We haven't hired anyone yet, but we're ready to move. And I've got existing staff that will take on some key roles in helping us get this off the ground. Yeah.
And so how is the facility budget used? Are you going to be expanding somehow your facility for more office space or computer space?
Well, with the virtual academy on our end, we have a physical place where to state the obvious, where our traditional brick and mortar students come every day. And then we also have a physical space where our blended learning students come. when they come 2 to 3 days a week as well. And some of the staff that will be in a supportive role of the virtual academy will be based there, where they're already going to be based at in Apex, North Carolina. Is it possible that we would need to have a physical home office or physical space for the Pine Springs virtual down the road? I guess anything's possible. I've done that with past school districts, but initially the thought is that the space we have right now can accommodate the staff that I'll need to have in place for this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions before we let them go into closing remarks? All right, not hearing any. Mr. Friend, you go ahead with your closing remarks.
Just, I'll be brief. Just thank you again for the opportunity to present this for you. I think I am going to brag. I'm going to say that if there's any charter school in the state right now equipped to launch a successful blended learning program, there might be many of them, and we would be one. We have the expertise on staff to do this and to do it well. We've already got a strong interest in the various remote options that we already provide, and we anticipate the similar for the virtual option as well. And so would certainly request approval for us to be able to have this option available for our students and our families, not just here in our specific geographic region, but potentially across the state as well.
Okay, thank you. Board, this is our chance to deliberate and make any motion that someone feels fit to make.
This is Stephen Gay. To be honest, my general thing about any of these virtual charter schools is skeptical, to be honest with you. That's my personal opinion. But looking at this, for anyone to be successful, you got to look at Pine Springs that's successful as a brick and mortar school. They're successful. Bruce and his team bring all the needed responsibilities. It's almost they could actually set the blueprint for other church schools to do this. And I think they're doing it for the right reason, where I think some other church schools are not. So I can support this, and I'll make a motion to support Pine Springs' bid for a virtual academy.
All right, we have a motion.
Dr. Eldridge, I second the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Thank you, Rita. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to add that I really agree with the closing statement that Pine Springs received a 10-year renewal. I think we voted in 2021, an AB school exceeding and meeting growth consistently. And as Mr. Friend already pointed out, they've conducted a blended program for years, so they're equipped. They have more foundation in place than a lot of other schools, and it's a large project, but it sounds very exciting, and the interest is definitely there. So I really don't have too many reservations, except that I know that it's going to take a lot of work, roll up your sleeves, because this is a large project. But they can handle it. They can do this.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, Ashley, let's go ahead and do a roll call on the motion is for us to accept the virtual academy for Pine Springs Prep.
All right. Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez,
Aye.
Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right, that passes, and we will be in touch with you, Mr. Friend, regarding next steps, and then supply this information to the to school business and the other divisions in DPI that will need to know you've been approved.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll make you proud. John, if you could, would you mind taking over the next one as well?
I don't mind at all.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, Julie. Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
Thank you,
there we
Julie.
go. Our next remote charter academy applicant is Uwari Charter. They did not send in a presentation, but I do see there's some representation on the call. So Uwari, are you ready to start a present about your remote charter academy?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Go ahead.
And again, this is a 10-minute presentation, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and roll.
Sure. So my name's Chris Weed. I'm the assistant superintendent out here at URI Charter. With me today is Ms. Rebecca Harris. She's our academic director. She was formerly our middle school principal. She's now in this role of academic director, and she leads our virtual academy. One thing that might be a little bit different with us is we actually have a presently functioning virtual academy that we launched this year. I reached out back in December of 2022 to Brian Whitson with DPI, just kind of exploring some options, trying to remain innovative and give our family some flexibility out here. And this will go into some of the demand. You know, really when, like all schools, when we pivoted to online learning during COVID, our teachers, of course, like everyone else, struggled at first and then really started to become very adept in providing online lessons. We had a strong contingent of high school students that even when we came back in person, we had a tough time getting them back in the building because just with our community and from the surrounding areas that we pull from, we had a lot of students that went to work full time, and some were the primary breadwinners for their families. So that just got us thinking, how could we take this idea, make it better, give it some infrastructure, and really offer something that's flexible and innovative for our families. This is in line also with our new career academy that we launched this year, where we have a trades program with a welding program and auto mechanics, construction trades, culinary, all these high interest trades jobs that are in demand in this area. Wanted to continue to give our students some flexibility to pursue those types of careers, participate in internships, but if they could prove to us they could be successful, have the opportunity to do that through a virtual academy. So that was December of 2022. Of course, at that time, that was before Office of Charter Schools had a specific application process. So DPI approved that. We were operating under our remote learning plan, of course. With the help of Ms. Harris, we launched some interest meetings. We really targeted for our middle schoolers. Our niche are the homeschool families that have already kind of done the homeschool environment, and kids are used to kind of learning at their own pace and have that time management skill. And then our high school target audience, again, are those kids that are interested in working, maybe that already have a job, or they just for whatever reason enjoy that flexibility of online learning. So we actually launched that this year, and we had, I think, 92 students that we're serving here this second semester. And during this initial part, I'll let Ms. Harris speak to some of the aspects of our current program and some of the feedback that she's received this year. Ms. Harris.
Yeah, so our middle school, again, this is the first year we had done it. We had some of our middle school teachers design classrooms, and we have another teacher who kind of facilitates that for us. We had about 25 students in our middle school, and we have around 65 students at the high school level. We've had a lot of success with that this year. With the feedback that we've received from our parents is they really enjoy the flexibility. It's funny, we didn't talk about that beforehand, but that was what they said. The flexibility was being able to work at any time of the day that they need to, the flexibility with due dates, the platforms that we use in the Google Classroom, there is some flexibility there depending on certain situations. And they really enjoy being able to work at their own pace, being removed from some of those distractions. That was what we received in the surveys that we have conducted. So we've been really pleased with that feedback. Some of our success stories that I like to talk about are that we had a student reach out to us from another school, and he said, hey, I'm not able to take physics in my school, and I need it. I'm going to be an engineer, and if I had to go to the community college where I live, it's so far. Would it be possible to jump into your virtual academy? So he came and finished out his senior year with us because of the flexibility that we were able to offer there, and he is accepted into NC State, and he will be going there in the fall. So we're really excited to be able to help him with that. We've had some other students who've had some health situations that we were able to accept from our current population into our virtual academy, and have successfully finished out the year being able to work remotely with more instruction than they would have gotten if their teachers had just finished the year out for them in that Google classroom. And then we also had some students, like Mr. Wheat said, who were working full-time jobs and, would work throughout the day and they would do their assignments at night. And one of them, we require a check-in with our students, and he would take his break and he would check in with us through FaceTime or through our Google Meet. So it was really neat to see that he was able to maintain all that was going on while he was, completing his schoolwork. One of my favorite things, though, is our 10th grade. I don't want to tell the others, but they were probably my favorite group to work with, just because they were the most engaged and involved. We had a couple who decided to come back this year, or who will be coming back in person this following year. But one of the things they said was, I just really liked getting to know this student online, and I think she's coming back too. So like, they're building community in their Google Meets, which was really important to us, that there was the social emotional component to the virtual academy, so that they're making those connections. They see that there are others that are in their situation. That was something that we noticed during COVID, as students just felt so isolated. We wanted to make sure there was an opportunity for them to feel that sense of belonging, to feel a part of a community. So we really strongly encourage them to participate in extracurricular activities, to be involved when we have their STEAM nights, to come out to sporting events, so that they can continue to be we always tell them, you're a part of UCA, you're a student here, so come take advantage of what we have to offer.
That's great. Thank you, Ms. Harris. So you can see from our enrollment projection, we are not trying to grow exponentially with this program. Like Ms. Harris said, we want to be able to offer lots of support and find really our niche for the students in this area, that this is a good fit for them. So like I said, we finished up with 92 students second semester this year. We're projected about 110 next year, and our lottery numbers look like we'll hit that. And you can see, for years 2 through 5, we're really not trying to grow exponentially. We want to offer this for the students that it works for, and not just to grab in extra kids and bring them in. That's not the intent at all. So that's why you see those numbers plateauing and leveling off at 120. Now, obviously, if the demand gets much higher, we could look at that, but we feel like those are the students. That's the number of students that we can realistically serve. And as mentioned in our application, this is a full-time remote program. This is not a blended program. These students are completely online, and in that sense, a separate cohort from other UCA students. Other than that, I think that's the general information. Just to highlight again, it is something that we've had success with this year. I'm just really proud of our team, because I think we all know the purpose of the original intent of charter schools is to offer something innovative and flexible. And I'm just really proud of our team that we took an idea that was kind of out there, that maybe an unintended consequence of COVID, that this could be done. But we found a way to do it and found a way to meet the needs of our families, and just really thrilled to hear that feedback that we got from some of our families, that this was a good fit for them here at UCA.
Well, thank you, Chris. And we appreciate your presentation, to both of you. The next 15 minutes is for us to go ahead and deliberate. Board, if you have any questions for Uwari, now would be the time.
Hello, this is Rita Hare. Mr. Wheat, I noticed that you have $1,000 budgeted to your marketing, and I agree your effort is not as ambitious as the one just preceding you, but they had $50,000 in their marketing. So I'm just curious as to how you anticipate marketing this, particularly because you're going statewide in your reach. Just what is the plan there?
Sure. So again, not trying to outgrow our infrastructure, which has been a common theme out here in our 10 years. We just hit our 10-year renewal, as I'm sure you guys are aware, and our 10-year anniversary at the same time. So, kind of learning from the lessons in the past. We're not trying to outgrow our infrastructure out here. So that is in line with our budgeting for marketing. That $1,000 is simple. It's Facebook boosts. It's targeted marketing. I'll tell you this. This is just kind of the way I think. When I heard a particular school system in our state might be closing their virtual academy due to limited funding, I went to our marketing person here in the office. I said, let's boost some targeted marketing in that area. Let's try to grab those families if there's a need there. So that's why it's limited. I mean, it's through social media type things. A lot of our marketing is word of mouth. We hosted, and this cost us nothing but our time. We hosted 2 or 3 parent information nights before we launched. And, we tried to get in some community homeschool groups because we feel like, again, that's our target audience, especially for middle school. So I hope that answers your question. That's why that's so limited, is because we're really not trying to outgrow our infrastructure.
It does answer it, and your budget is very healthy, so you can always apply resources to various areas. So thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. Thank you.
Mr. Wheat, this is Dave Machado. I have a few questions, and first I want to congratulate you on your innovation, which you've always done at your RE, so I do appreciate that. You've had a virtual model for a while. Do you segregate your scores on what the students that are in the virtual model versus the ones that are in brick and mortar, and can you talk about how they compare?
Right. So Dave, I guess you're referring to end of grade and end of course scores?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll let Ms. Harris speak to that because we just received those. It's our first year. We did have some first semester. I'll let her speak to that. And also, I'm sure she'll mention for our core tested subjects in the high school, we do use the NCVPS platform, which gives us, we think, the most support for those students. But I'll let Ms. Harris speak to
definitely.
this.
Yeah. We're getting all of our scores back and looking through those. We do kind of, those do go into our middle school and high school scores, but they are separated so that we can see what those scores are. Was really pleased with our English 2 this second semester. We had almost all of ours taking English 2 with the exception of 2 did not make it English 2. However, Math 1 was not as successful as we wanted it. We did pull in a few extra students in second semester who had not received credits at their previous school. So they were just a little bit more challenging for them to kind of be successful in that Math 1 second semester. So overall, we are kind of looking at areas where students are more successful than others. We did see in middle school that our reading scores were comparable. In math, I haven't actually looked over those yet, but we are looking at that next year to kind of see where we need to grow. The teacher that I work with is going to take the classes this summer and kind of modify where we see those areas for our middle school students. But part of that is just making sure that, we did a lot of, sometimes you got to chase it after a few students, say, hey, this is what we need to see you do. When NCVPS ended in May 10th, we went and did some check-ins with them where we focused on, hey, we're going to meet Math 1 on this day, biology's this day every week, so that we could continue that support for our students before they begin their testing. So that is something that we'll definitely track. This is our first year with the scores for virtual students, so we'll continue to track that in the coming years.
And just one other thing with testing, that just kind of a practical note that I was pleased with, some of the families that jumped in our virtual academy, especially at the middle school level, have never attended a brick and mortar school. They have been homeschooled, some adequately and some maybe not. But, when we told them the testing will be when you come on campus, you absolutely will come on campus to take this test. And I remember the apprehension that some of these families told us at the beginning of the year. And that went very well to get those kids in here and test them and, them to kind of look around and be like, oh, okay, this is my campus. So just the practical nature of the testing went very well this first year. The scores, will obviously be combined for our total overall proficiency and growth. But Ms. Harris is doing a good job looking at those and seeing where we can improve going into year 2.
We do work closely with each of our middle and high school. I always say, we're the virtual academy, but we are really tied into the schools that we work with for enrollment and for computers and for all of the things that are needed. You wouldn't imagine, a lot of times I've even had to say like, hey, we have a guidance counselor here at the high school if you need support in that capacity. So it's been great to have the resources of our other schools that are supporting what we do at the virtual academy, because you're going to see in our budget, we don't have a lot of staff that's designated only to the virtual academy, but we do have staff that support what we do. And in testing and in scores and looking over curriculum, we had teachers that in our middle school who created the Google Classrooms that we use. So that's been a really important piece for me, especially in this initial year, is working closely with the data managers and the guidance counselors and the administrators, in all the different aspects has been really fantastic.
My last question is, the students that are in your virtual school, will they have access to extracurricular activities such as sports and things like that?
Yes, sir, they do. And that's one of the first things that we highlight when we send out, our initial promotion, if you will, and on those parent nights. They have access to all of our after-school clubs, which we have several thriving clubs, both at the middle school and the high school. They do have access to athletics. I think there may be only one. I think that this year
we had Restaurant Middle School. We had a JV girls basketball player,
Okay, so-
and JV and varsity baseball.
Okay, so the baseball is the only one I knew about. Thank you, Ms. Harris. So they do have access to that. At the initial outset, our plan was to offer, we have a fantastic STEAM program here at the middle school where the last period of the day is nothing but hands-on STEAM and student-centered learning through interest and all that. We were going to try to find a way to invite some of those kids on for STEAM. It just didn't work out. To be honest, most of them didn't want to. Most of them chose to be virtual because they want to be virtual. But we're always looking at things like that, just as Ms. Harris mentioned, other ways to get those kids feeling like they're part of the UCA family, but they do have access to all extracurricular activities. Dances. I know some attended prom,
Yes.
which was really cool.
And we had a few of them attend our 8th grade promotion
Yes.
ceremony and the ones who walked in graduation.
Yes. So we're very pleased with that.
Thank you.
Mr. Wheat, this is Rita Hare again. You may have said this, I haven't seen it in the documents, but what is the current student enrollment this past year in your blended school?
So Rita, when you say blended, help me understand. Because we in my head, we have our virtual kids and we have our in-person kids. I want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly.
Okay, you didn't have anyone this year doing anything remotely?
Yes. So we have our virtual academy this year, but I'm sorry, I got hung up on the word for blended. So for us, it's completely remote. I'm sorry. Yes. So second semester was 92. First semester, Ms. Harris?
That's what I thought, 92.
55. Yes, ma'am. So that's a good indication. Our first semester was 55 students, and then second semester was 92.
Okay. And you're saying all along they were for the most part remote. They came in for meetings and that kind of thing. But
So-
you operated remotely. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. They really, the majority of them just came for testing. The meetings, the daily meetings, the check-ins with our teacher, all that was through Google Meet, and that was completely remote.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions before we go into closing remarks? Okay, not hearing any. Go ahead, Mr. Wheat.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for your time today, and thank you for this initiative. I can tell a lot of time went into this application process. Just from looking at the legislation that was passed, I can tell a lot of intent was given to making sure that everything in that legislation is addressed in the documents that we submitted. So thank you for your intentionality on that. We really appreciate that. Again, here at UCA, we just pride ourselves on trying to think outside the box, trying to be innovative. The reason I'm here, the reason Ms. Harris is here is to provide different opportunities for kids. We could both be working in a traditional school if we wanted to. We've done that. We don't want to do that. We want to be part of something that's creative and innovative, keeps us motivated, and also gives kids new opportunities. So this is a shining example of something we've tried to do. We've learned a lot this year. Ms. Harris has done a fantastic job, and she's always reflecting of how it can be better next year. So I just appreciate the intentionality that's been put into this, because they helped us build more infrastructure, especially with the budget and thinking of things like that. So appreciate that. But we are requesting your approval to continue moving forward and continue offering these opportunities for our students. Ms. Harris, anything I left out?
That's great.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, board, now is our opportunity to deliberate or move forward with some sort of motion that we will entertain.
Dr. Aldridge, this is Mr. Friend. Just want to applaud them for the amount of information they provided and the effort they put into this application on the amendment request. They're already showing some success with the operating an online program. So I'm going to go ahead and make an emotion that we approve Ori's request for a remote academy.
And this is Rita Hare. I second Mr. Friend's motion.
All right, great. We have a motion and a second to accept this application. Any comment? Okay, not hearing any. Ashley, let's do a roll call vote.
All right, Stephen Gay,
Aye.
Bruce Friend,
Aye.
Rita Hare,
Aye.
Dave Machado,
Aye.
Todd Godby,
Aye.
Eric Sanchez, Shelley Shope,
Aye.
John Eldridge.
Aye.
All right, thanks, Uari. That passes, and we will be in touch. We're working with school business to figure out how to get your new school codes set up, and we will be in touch.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
I've had the fortune of knowing Mr. Wheat for a long time, and I know that anything he gets himself involved with is going to be successful. So best of luck to you, Chris.
Oh, John, I appreciate that. Same to you, my friend.
All right, next on the agenda. Looks like, does it say lunch?
Yes, lunch, and we are early, so you guys get a full hour because our next interview is not till for remote charter academies at 12:45.
All right, we'll see everybody back at 12:45 then. Thank you.
All right, thanks. You guys can stay and I'll leave the meeting running.
Thank you again.
Leave that meeting with, yeah, you see that little button? Click it again, or that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then leave it.
There it is.
Earl, can you hear me?